Welcome to our Tom Bihn Aeronaut 30 review. In this video, we're gonna tear this backpack slash duffel apart. I'm gonna let you know the honest pros and the cons. And if you're not quite sold on this bag, you're definitely gonna wanna stick around to the end of the video, because that's the part of the video where I give you some alternative suggestions. And the alternative suggestions will be for bags that are similar to this, but not the exact same, just so you have a better idea of what's in the market. Because here at Nomads Nation, our number one priority isn't to, have you buy this bag. I just want you to find the best bag for your needs. Let's talk about the gist of the Tom Bihn Aeronaut 30. Tom Bihn is a US-based carry brand. They're from Seattle. And they're one of those brands who know who they are, really know who they are. And that's given them cult-like following over the decades. And what I mean they know who they are is they're not trying to do super modern, crazy, chic stuff. They are a function over form type of brand. Everything's about capacity and usability and functionality. And it's given them an aesthetic that you're either going to love or hate. There's very little middle ground for Tom Bihn. Some of this bag's top features are a U-shape opening to the main compartment, internal compression straps. We've got beefy pockets on both sides of the bag. Small, quick stash pockets also on each side of the bag. But I think most importantly of all is the fact that this is a bag to be carried three ways, either in backpack mode, handheld mode, and shoulder strap messenger mode, which unfortunately we can't convey in this review because we don't have the actual shoulder strap. And if you are curious about how this bag functions in messenger mode, you should definitely ask on the Nomads Nation subreddit. We've put together the most passionate group of bag nerds on the web. And it's a great spot to ask any questions about this bag, or really any bag that you're interested in, and to contribute to the conversation. So definitely be sure to check out the Nomads Nation subreddit. But this review is still gonna be the only review you ever need to watch, okay? Trust me on that. As of recording, this bag is available in 12 different color options on the Tom Bihn site. Now it should be noted there's two size options, the 30 liter and a much bigger 45 liter. 45 is it's a monster. I assume. I don't have it, but I've reviewed other 45 liter bags and they're big boys. A 30 liter though is a great size for travel, especially for road trips and or plane or train travel. We're headed for about, a week. Pack super heavy. The dimensions of this bag are around 22 inches width, a height of around 14 inches, and we'll try and remember to measure the depth when the bag's fully packed out. Don't let me forget, Margaret. I'm holding you responsible for this. For the weight of the bag, we're looking at 2.6 pounds on scale number 1, and basically the same on scale number 2. But you gotta admit, 2.5 pounds for a 30 liter bag, very nice. This is the 30 liter version when it's empty. And here you can see the bag when it's fully packed out and worn on the Nomads Nation team. For reference, I'm 5'8", and our media manager Margaret is 5'2". And we're gonna pack out this bag throughout the entire review so you can see exactly what it fits. All Tom Bihn products are covered by their lifetime warranty against manufacturing defects. And for all that, this bag comes in at a pretty hefty price tag of $335 USD. But keep in mind that all Tom Talk bags are made in the USA, which does drive up the price point. And if at any point during this review you find yourself thinking to yourself, made in the USA, duffel, messenger, backpack, love the look, I'm totally getting one. And you're gonna make a purchase. We highly recommend that you do so with the first link in the description below. Reason being, that link makes sure that you get the best price, and we oftentimes have discount codes. But that link also helps support the Nomads Nation YouTube channel and team so we can keep making the best bag reviews on the web. Thank you very much. Okay, let's start by talking about the outside of the Tom Bihn Aeronaut 30 liter. Starting with the aesthetic, which is going to be one of the most controversial aspects of Tom Bihn. Because you got the Synapse backpack, you got the Cynic backpack, the Tom Bihn vibe. For me personally, not my vibe. I respect the hustle, but if your vibe is yo, I care about function over form, then we shall proceed with the review. Because speaking of function, this fabric is extremely functional. And it's a fabric that we see on bags all the time, which will vary depending on which color you get, but for this color, it's a 1050 ballistic nylon. Ballistic nylon was developed by the military some time ago, which means it's incredibly abrasion resistant and durable with some weather resistance, and it's sort of a miracle material when it comes to bags. Also gives it a nice look. It's a bit boring sometimes for me. I've seen so many bags do it, but there's a reason why it works. Tom Bihn's logo, a bit loud for my taste. Now we're gonna talk about all the internal compartments in the next section of this review. So let's talk about handles. You've got some handles on either side. And these are weird handles. They're not like carrying handles. You're not gonna carry the bag with these handles. I wouldn't recommend it. But they do offer points of leverage, right, to grab the bag. This is a travel bag. Do not EDC this bag. And when it's in the overhead bin, right, you wanna grab it out. These handles are what that's for. And speaking of handles, love what's happening with this top handle right here. It's got a beefiness to it and it's got room to it. Just lots of room for activities with this handle, which makes it easier to grab, flows with the bag as you're carrying it. It's secured via these two buckles, which allows you to separate the handles. But what's really interesting about this bag is a lot of bags that are designed like this, main compartment is accessible underneath the handles, right? There's usually like a zipper here, which means you have to undo the handles to unzip the compartment, but Tom Bihn's design allows the handles to keep buckled and secured while still being able to access that main compartment. Now, if you want to go into messenger mode, we have these two buckles right here. That's where you clip the shoulder strap onto. Like I said, we do not have that with us, but it does make this bag sort of a triple threat in that perspective, as it does make it a 3-in-1 carry solution. Harness system. And speaking of the different carry solutions, let's talk about going into backpack mode. These shoulder straps have a nice contour to them to better fit the torso. The padding used inside has a really nice rebound, but I could have used a bit more depth in them. That's just my forte. I prefer thicker shoulder straps, especially on a larger bag. Love the fabric that's being used on the back side here. Very silky smooth. Almost a little too silky smooth. It might end up like falling off your shoulder. There's not a lot of grip going on. That'll depend on what fabric you're wearing. If you're wearing like a super smooth jacket, like a weather resistant one, you might get some slidage happening. We got the sternum strap for additional comfort. We'll do a little more of a comfort test when the bag is fully packed out at the end of the next section. But having worn it outside, I can say it's a pretty comfortable bag. But one thing that makes it less comfortable is something you have to take into consideration with this bag, but not just this bag, any bag that's trying to be a 2 or 3 or 4-in-1. As to where you can see this back panel, there's no real padding. You got a bit, there's some padding there, but it's not like a dedicated travel backpack, which has like a 3D ventilated mold cutout with ventilation that's meant to be worn in backpack mode. This bag can't do this because it's also trying to be a messenger bag and a duffel bag and a backpack. So one thing to keep in mind about hybrid bags such as this is there's always trade-offs that occur to make sure that you can have each carry mode work as good as possible, while no carry mode will work perfectly. Words. But speaking of the hybridness, you can go ahead and unclip the shoulder straps down here. And then with this zipper on top, you can take the shoulder straps and stow them away. And then you are in pure handheld or shoulder strap carrying mode. I gotta admit, I don't think there's actually too many compromises with this bad boy when you're in handheld mode. This is definitely like a very first hand duffel, I think, and shoulder duffel that can also convert into a backpack. And one last note, we have a couple of loops at the bottom here, which I assume is for a hip belt, which also we did not get for this review, but that will add additional comfort when you are wearing it in backpack mode. And like I said, we'll talk about comfort a bit more in depth at the end of the next section. Speaking of which, I think we're ready. Let's talk about the inside of the Tom Bihn Aeronaut 30-liter. This is not a backpack. Like, backpackers aren't designed like this in terms of like the zipper openings. So just me further emphasizing that this is definitely a duffel first. Because when you're in backpack mode, like all the stuff is just kind of like, it's like this, right? When you can tell that this is the way the bag's supposed to be carried, that's why the logo is legible from this direction. Main compartment, we got these two chunky and lockable YKK zippers. It better be at $350 frickin', am I right? Now inside this section, there's no additional organization, but one interesting thing is right here we have the back of this pocket, which is, obviously divided by this lining. As to where this lining can be unzipped right here. That allows you to sort of have an expansion effect. It's not like epically expansive, but in those situations where you are carrying a bit more gear and you just like to customize the bag to carry the way that you want it to, I guess it's nice to have, although I still don't completely understand it. Let's pack out this main compartment. So being a travel duffel, I got my week's worth of clothes and also a tech pouch and a DOP kit. Packing cube, go ahead and put that right in here. Now the good thing about compression straps like this is you can actually leave the packing cube at home, saving you some grammage of weights. And then all right, let's test this expansion. So you can see I got the tech pouch in there. We've basically done our full capacity, but if I give it a little unzippage, yeah, we're definitely, okay, cool. So now what's happening is that this is going further into this pocket and also sort of elevating a little bit as well, which allows me to fit this in there a bit. Yeah, it definitely works. And the compression straps also help to maybe give you a bit of extra room as well as to where you can cinch whatever's in the compartment down, and therefore when you're traveling on those more budget airlines, you can hopefully get it into the metal bin where they measure your bags. Now I'm gonna go ahead and close this zip back up here so we can properly showcase what's going on in this pocket. This is actually pretty easy to do. Yeah, it worked very nicely. Then inside the main compartment, we got these two handle loop things, which I don't think you're gonna be carrying the bag like this. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure what the functionality is of these, but what's cool is that I think you can actually hang your duffel at your hotel or Airbnb, giving you sort of like really cool oversight into what's in here. So it's sort of like a hanging wardrobe. Is that what it's for? Am I missing something? Let me know in the comments below if I'm missing what these are intended for. On either side of this top handle though, we've got these two little loops. And this is like Tom Bihn's sort of modular ecosystem as to where they have packing cubes and tech pouches that you can then clip into there, allowing you to customize the way you carry. And a lot of people who are big Tom Bihn fans, they say this is one of their favorite parts of the bag. It's one of those things that you don't think is a big deal, but you kind of get addicted to over time because of the customization it gives you. On the top, zipper pocket, mesh. Don't love this mesh. It's very durable, don't get me wrong, but it's very coarse, but it's durable. I'll give them that. Good spot for me for a book. I'm gonna go ahead and zip that up. That's our main compartment. We're almost packed up for our trip. In this hypothetical scenario, we're taking a train to Chicago, get some deep dish. So before we leave home for that deep dish experience, we're gonna pop the keys onto the key leash. Again, you can see in this compartment, Tom Bihn's hanging loops, so you can clip things onto things. Chicago's cold basically every time of the year, so we're gonna have our Unbound merino hoodie, which is very lightweight, so it can pack into this nicely. Unbound is our favorite option for travel clothes. To learn more about them, be sure to check the links in the description below. You can see right here, it fits very nicely. And then on the other side, another hanging loop right here. And unfortunately for this trip to Chicago, it's gonna be a little rainy, so I'm gonna throw an umbrella in there. I also got a tech pouch. This is the Evergoods Cap 0.5. Perfect fit. And now we're rocking and rolling. But one more pocket on either side, right here. This is sort of your quick access pocket, right, for on our train ride, whether the bag is over top or laying next to us. These pockets just give us access to our smaller bits of gear, which for me on side number one, I'm gonna throw my hard shell glasses case. And then the other side is gonna fit. I got a bulky travel adapter and it's absolutely going to fit very nicely. I'm gonna say though, no real place for a water bottle externally on this bag. So if you're doing a water bottle for this hypothetical trip to Chicago, you're gonna wanna put your hoodie on, and then you can probably fit a water bottle in here very easily. But just make sure that the water bottle is securely tightened in the lid as to avoid any leaks. And now that the bag is fully packed out, let's do a little depth check. We're at about 8 inches. Now, comfort testing. Handles, love what's going on. This is the way the bag's gonna be held most of the time. I think this and shoulder strap mode. It should be noted that this is not a very good self-standing duffel, brief, whatever you wanna call it. We do have, it's just like, it's not a huge base at the bottom. If packed out correctly, you might have a chance, but due to its unstructured design, it's just not gonna self-stand very well. But then let's say you're sick of lugging this thing around with your hands, you wanna go into backpack mode, go ahead and unleash the shoulder straps, pop these into the buckles. Who are you made by the way? Stealth National Molding? Don't know who makes these buckles, but it's Tom Bihn, I trust him. And then in backpack mode, actually, I think these shoulder straps are actually kind of cozy. They're strangely cozy as to where I wouldn't expect them to be cozy, but I like the rebound. Sternum strap, pros and cons. Pro, it exists. I'd always rather a sternum strap existing than not existing for additional comforts and less lower back pain. But on the con side, with both parts of this bag, we're doing my least favorite dance in the world, which is the dangle dance. And this is kind of like doing this, and the dangle is omnipresent. It is everywhere. And it always is with Tom Bihn bags, always, and I hate it. Now this is where I say there's compromises with hybrid bags, because I'm a skinny dude, I'm 5'8", and I can still really feel the webbing of the bottom of these shoulder straps really pinched into my rib cage. Not in a way it's painful, but it's just like noticeable, right? And that's because of the fact that this was designed as a duffel bag where they're like, yo, throw some shoulder straps on there so they can go into backpack mode, which are appreciated, but it just means that this thing wasn't designed to accommodate being worn in backpack mode first, which means that it's just a little bit different in backpack mode than an actual backpack. So I felt like that pressure on both sides of my rib cage, which shouldn't be a deal breaker because like I said, we've been over this. This is a duffel first, or brief, or whatever you want to call it. Duffel brief, brief duffel, a briefle. But single shouldering it, not a problem. Like I said, I really like the padding on this, so it's comfy, excluding that kind of rib cage compression. As you can tell, I'm really into bags. We're going into a lot of bag theory stuff here, because for me, it's like really important to communicate to you all the pros and the cons of this bag, just a lot of pros and some cons, because I want you to find the best bag for your needs. And if you're really into bags, or you're a bit of a gearhead and you're just starting to get into bags, I gotta tell you that here at Nomads Nation, we don't just do epic bag reviews, but we also have the Nomads Nation newsletter. And in that newsletter, I give you a deep dive into the world of everyday carry and travel gear. 2 to 4 times a month, depending on how busy it is. Travel hacks, travel tips, the newest drops, exclusive giveaways and discount codes that are only available to our community. We do all of it in the newsletter. So if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in this incredible world of gearheads and the carry community, be sure to look for this globe emoji in the description below. There you can sign up to the Nomads Nation email list, and I hope to see you in your inbox. All right, let's talk about the overall pros and the cons of the Tom Bihn Aeronaut 30. Pro number 1 is you gotta love Tom Bihn's intuitive design. There's always capacity in places where you didn't even know that capacity would exist. Pro number 2 is the functionality of these 2 side pockets is pretty epic. They can handle a lot. And pro number 3 is the fact that it's a hybrid. You can carry it in backpack mode, handheld mode, or shoulder strap mode. But of the cons, con number 1 is also the fact that it's a hybrid, and the fact that there's gonna be compromises that have to be made to give you all 3 carrying styles. Con number 2, very pricey, $350 USD, definitely not cheap. And con number 3, when worn in backpack mode, for me, I was getting a lot of digging from the shoulder straps into my ribcage. But if you're still watching this, there's a good chance that you're thinking to yourself, there are some cons. I see what you're saying, but I love the bag and I'm totally picking one up. And if that's the case, or you just want to find out more information, reminder that we do suggest doing so with the first link in the description below. Reason being, that link just makes sure you get the best price, and if we have any discount codes, that's what they'll be. But if you're not quite sold, I did tease some alternative recommendations, because I want to show you what else is on the market so you can find the best bag for what you need. Let's talk about them. Alternative recommendation number 1 is going to be the Knappack convertible duffel. Great pick for you if, again, you're looking for a hybrid, little 3-in-1 action, but you want one that can offer some expansion and just kind of does it in a different way. Knappack and Tom Bihn are kind of similar. They're both really function first. They've got their own cult-like followings. They just kind of do it a little differently. And alternative suggestion number 2 is gonna be the Black Ember Forge. Black Ember is different from Knappack and Tom Bihn, as to where they're a little bit more focused on form without sacrificing functionality too much, but like their gear looks really sexy. And again, the Forge is a 3-in-1. So therefore it can kind of do a bit of everything. All 3 bags have their own unique pros and cons. I love all 3 in their own ways, but to learn more about the alternatives, just go ahead and watch these videos right here. If you got any questions about any bags, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Aaron, this is Nomads Nation, and we'll catch you next time.